Well, good morning. God bless each and every one of you that are listening to us on this morning. You're listening to Awesome Radio, Real Talk for Real Men, WBIS, Awesome Radio, 106.9 on your FM dial. And we welcome you on this beautiful Thursday. And I'm Pastor Dan Lawson, and we have Elder Nat Farrow. Elder Farrow, introduce yourself.
And I'm Elder Nat Farrow from Kingdom of Heaven Ministries in Greenville.
Let us know what you want to talk about this morning.
Well, I think we need to acknowledge the fact that today is the first day of early voting in North Carolina.
That's important.
So, if you can get out today, that's cool, but you got until November 5th, which is a Saturday, till 3 p.m. So, but voting has started. So that's important. And we need to, understand that and understand our responsibilities as citizens. I was reading something this morning about, God used Paul's citizenship for his glory. You know what I'm saying? The fact that he was a citizen gave him, there's things that come with being a citizen.
Yes.
Things come with, citizenship. So we need to understand that. And as Black men, we know that our thing started in Reconstruction. The 1860, actually in 1870, Black men got the right to vote. But, before that, we couldn't vote. So it is a big deal, because it makes you a part of what's going on. And, you vote for your interests.
Let me ask you a quick question concerning voting. Now, we've been hearing about this effort by a lot of states to change voting laws and rules. And it's been implied that it was for the purpose of discouraging minority vote. Has anything been done in North Carolina along that line to affect the way we vote here in North Carolina?
I think they want to, and I think they try to, but we do have a Democratic governor, and I think that kind of holds them off. But one thing, they do have a case that's going to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court decided to take it up this later in this session, and it's a scary case because what they're trying to do is make the legislature, I forget what they call it now, but they're trying to make it so that if there's an issue with the voting, that the legislature has the power. They want to give the legislature the power and take it away from the courts. So in other words, you can't go into the state court and challenge, let's say, redistricting or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Uh-huh. They want to make it so the legislature has the power. And that would be disastrous, man, because, if something isn't right, just like the maps that they drew up, that wasn't right, and they were challenged, and the court, took the challenge and said, no, this isn't right. You know what I'm saying? You have to redraw them. So they want to take it out of the court's hands, and this is going up. The Supreme Court is going to take up this case. So that's a case to watch.
So if it is put in the hands of the legislature, is that implying that typically the Republicans control the legislative branch in the state?
Right. And it would have, go ahead.
Yeah, that would mean that they would have leverage there to bend the laws in the way that they would want them to be.
Right. And it would also affect if it goes to the Supreme Court and they rule for that, then it would affect other states.
So that's right. Once the Supreme Court,
yeah. So right. It's kind of a really not a good good situation. I mean, we have the state courts for a reason, to be able to challenge things. So if you take it out of their hands and you can't, you know, then that's not a good way to go. So we'll see how they rule on that.
So
But yeah,
restate for us again. We've got early voting that's going to last from point A to point B, and then after that, on Tuesday, on that Tuesday in November, we're going to have the regular voting.
November
So
9th, right?
November 9th, regular voting, but early voting is going to go from when to when?
From today till Saturday, November 5th at 3 o'clock, 3 p.m.
And everybody needs to know where they supposed to go to do early voting. You just can't go anywhere. Is that right?
No, they have. There's, I believe, there's 5 in the county. There's 5 designated spots for early voting, and you can go to the North Carolina Board of Elections, and you can find out where those particular places are.
So any person can go to either one of these 5?
Yeah, during
Okay.
early voting, you can go to either one of them, and you can cast your vote. And you can also register if you didn't register. Hopefully, everybody registered, but you can register during early voting.
So what's the advantages of voting early? What does that give you when you vote early?
Well, what it gives me, you're not standing on a line. You don't usually it goes pretty fast, and it's
Yeah, you
not
can walk right through. Huh?
right.
Okay.
So it kind of alleviates the line. If you just had people on one day, you would see what you be seeing on the news in other states, with people standing in these long lines. So early voting kind of alleviates that and makes it a little bit easier for people to do.
Yeah, and I guess if you plan to vote early, if something get in the way, then you still got another chance. But if you wait till election day and something gets in the way, then you might just lose your privilege.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
And you lose your voice on that day. So it's important that when you can go, I say if you can go early, go early. I always do. I have been doing.
Okay, so we're going to get into the meat of the matter to talk about why it's so important for us to vote. But let me just ask this question. Now, when you were in New York, were you voting age then?
At a certain time, I was. And I was one of those people that was part of the problem. I wasn't voting. Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna be straight up.
Yeah.
I was part of the problem.
Well, you were probably at that time. You were probably in that age group where.
No, I mean, as a grown person, I was part. I say it just like that. I was part of the problem. I wasn't voting because people that are not voting, your non-vote is a vote.
Yeah.
So I mean,
and it's a vote against you, pretty much.
Right. So you don't have nothing to say, but you think you're not saying nothing, but you are saying something because of your non-vote.
So do you know any differences, or were you able to recognize any differences between the state of New York, voting in the state of New York versus voting in the state of North Carolina? Or even in the conversations that go on about voting, it's pretty much the same?
I think it's pretty much the same as far as the idea of voting. There probably, I would suspect, every state has issues that are specific to that state. You know what I'm saying? And so your politicians need to be addressing the issues of your particular state. So that's the only real differences that I see.
So part of the problem, you talked about being part of the problem. What would you say to those between the ages of 18 and 35 what would you say to encourage them to vote? Because I would imagine that that would be the age group that, probably are least likely to vote. Do you agree with that?
It historically, that's probably true. Lately, I think the last election, a lot of younger people got out. You know,
Yeah, they did in the Obama election too.
no, even after that, even 2020. 2020 was a big election.
Yeah,
We had more people vote than ever before on both sides of the aisle.
that sure did.
So I think more people got out, but still there were 81 million people voted for Joe Biden. 71 million people voted for Donald Trump. That's about 150 million. There was still 100 million, probably almost 100 million people that didn't vote. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, would you say that that would have been younger people or older people? The ones that didn't vote. And I know you don't have the exact
statistics.
numbers,
No. Statistics kind of say younger people don't usually get out, but I'm thinking that now, it's hard to say without looking at the numbers. I think in general it was across the board. Maybe more younger people didn't. You know what I'm saying? But I think younger people are starting now to understand that there's issues that affect them that they need to vote for. When I listen and I listen to what people are saying, one of the big issues with me right now, I know, is Social Security. And I hear people talking about cutting Social Security. So that's my interest. That's one of my interests. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So when I hear that, now I know where not to go. So
yeah, we both have an issue with Social Security.
Yeah, so I'm not really trying to feel that, but so I know that's one of the Social Security and Medicare, as a matter of fact. They wanna there's folks that want to cut that and want to take that away or make it a voucher or do all kinds of crazy stuff. And when they do that other stuff, it might as well take it away. And go ahead.
So what about a person turning 18 can vote, right?
Right.
If they turned 18 this year, what would be the cutoff? I mean, if they turn 18 November 15th, they can't vote.
It's too late. Yeah.
They have to be 18 by voting day.
Right.
Okay. So what are the things that young people are hearing as reasons for them to vote? I would imagine that for some of them, they may be astute enough to say, you know what, maybe this student loan thing would affect me one day, so maybe I should get out there and throw my hand in on the table for that. But what are some other things that young people, 18 to 25, 18 to 30, what are the things that you would present to them to say, this is why you should be out there voting?
Hold on. Let's backtrack, because you brought up a good point. That the issue of the student loans, that is a very relevant issue.
That affects me. I'm 70 years old, and
it affects me.
I still got student loans I'm paying for my daughter, not for me.
I know what you're saying. Look, I might got a few for me. I ain't gonna say. But it really does affect a lot of people, and I think sometimes what we don't look at is people don't look at that. That's an investment. You don't look at that. I'm telling you, I've had so many people come up to me and fussing about student loans, and one particular person, I was in his business. I was at the business talking. And he just went on and on and on about the student loan issue. And after he went on and talking about paying this bill and that bill, and When his house flooded, he didn't get no FEMA assistance. He borrowed the money and he paid the bill and all this great stuff. Then he got to a place in the conversation talking about how his daddy made him work. He never had his dreams fulfilled. And at the end of that, sat there and told me, you know, when my dad died, he left me XYZ amount of $1 million. And I just sat there and looked at him. I looked at him like, Doc, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? You're talking about being able to have, whether he realized it or not, we had a lot of doctors to resign from being doctors, nurses that stopped being nurses, teachers that stopped being teachers just because of what happened in COVID time. And now you're talking about you don't want to make sure that as you're getting older, that you can have somebody that's properly educated and not having to struggle. It's already hard enough people working 2-3 jobs just to make it. And your concern is you don't want to let that money be forgiven.
Yeah, I'll add something to that. You talk about the doctors, you talk about the nurses. You can see this war in Ukraine. You can see that it's becoming highly technical.
Yes.
You know, with the drones and so forth. And they are a lot of countries that are very competitive with the U.S. when it comes to technology, when it comes to hacking into systems. And, you know, future warfares, no doubt, are going to be cyber wars.
Yeah.
There's a lot of very astute people when it comes to you know, to technology that are not in this country.
Right.
And we've got to make sure that we stay competitive. We need people that's going to go to college and pursue those very high level degrees. And they're not going to be able to do that out of their pocket. Yeah. You know, just because they're smart, you know, that means they're going to be able to go to a college where they can reach their full potential and add value to this country. So there has to be a way that these people, other than just scholarships, you know, can, you know, go to school and reach their potential and really bring something to the table for this country.
Yeah.
And I think that this idea of dealing with that gives people a little breathing room, as the president would say. And also, you know, something has to be done on other sides of this too, as far as colleges raising tuition. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a problem too. But
it costs so much.
But this bogus argument about you paying for something that you don't, you know, I ain't going to college, so why should I pay for them? You pay for a lot of things that you don't use. I pay for stuff I don't use. I pay for roads that I don't drive down.
That's exactly right.
Tax. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I just think that's a bogus argument. So, you know, yeah, I think that's something that would affect younger people. I also think the climate, young people are kind of really starting to understand that the climate is an issue too, you know, because they're going to have to deal with it, you know. So I think that's another issue that young people are starting to be more involved in.
So we got about a minute, 15 seconds. Pastor Forbes, you want to take us into the break?
I sure will.
With your comments?
Yes, I think there's so many reasons to vote, and that we have to realize that, and we don't want to be those that sit on the wayside, you know, and wish that we could have done something. You know, there's a lot of people that wish they could have done a lot of things, and they say all that you have to do for evil to triumph. I think Kierkegaard said that all you have to do for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing.
Yeah.
And we got to be proactive in what we do, how we do, how we inform, how we let things, we pass on. One of the things in my children's inheritance, I hope to leave them, is a desire to vote and have a say. And just to express how important that is. But on that note, we're going to come back and listen to Real Talk for Real Men on 106.9 FM on your radio dial, Awesome Radio. And this is Christian Inspiration for the Family and Ministry Teaching for practical living. We'll see you in a moment. All right, welcome back to Awesome Radio 106.9. You listen to Real Talk for Real Men on the radio dial. At this moment, we're gonna go ahead and tell you, if you want to be a sponsor of this show, you can get a tax deductible sponsorship by calling 252-756-3137. That's area code 252-756-3137, and that's our business line. We talk to the powers that be and talk about how you would like to be a sponsor. Hey, go ahead on and give a sponsorship. I'm gonna tell you, there ain't nothing like being able to have your voice known. Whether you know it or not, Akila is one of the only female Black radio owners in North Carolina. And it's good that we have her as, and being able to do the things that we do here. I love the fact that we were able to go to Pitt Community College just last week and be able to have a forum with all the politicians. I'm telling you, some of the politicians I wouldn't vote for, but there's some very interesting people. And I said, boy, it would be fun to sit down and just maybe hang out and talk to some of them. You literally had to hear some of them. Some got a lot of rootin' tootin' about them. And, but definitely, she opened that platform up for us to be able to talk to them, dialogue with them. The community was able to have a say. And I must say that the forum is not like when you went to it, everybody was respectful, even to their opponent who might have been sitting next to them. Everybody just kind of expressed what they would do. And I thought that was very interesting, and I thought it was good. Most of the people that walked out looked like they walked out uplifted. And I also want to thank her for giving me the opportunity to be able to open up with prayer and give the invocation for the meeting. And I do believe it went successful. Let's talk about back to the subject. We're talking about voting. we're gonna pass the ball back to Elder.
Well, like I said, like I started off with in the beginning, it really comes down. It's about citizenship, man. You know, we fought this thing from the beginning just to be citizens, just to be part of this. You know, and so like I said, to we always use biblical. We go, you know, use the standards in scripture. And when I look at scripture, you know, I see that you can be part of you're involved in government, but yet you understand and you serve God. You know what I'm saying? But you got to know where where the divisions are with that. And so I think Paul is a good example. But I also look at Daniel and how Daniel was part of that Persian government, but yet he was a servant of God. So I just, you know, that's just something that I thought about. That, you know, we can be as one songwriter said, you can be in it but not of it.
Right. Right.
So I don't know what y'all think about that.
I totally agree. Matter of fact, I'm gonna let y'all hash it out. But Paul used his right as a Roman citizen. You see that all the way through the Bible, and to the point of where he suffered police brutality. He was took. He was beaten real bad, and the magistrates and the police thought they were gonna get away with it. And Paul said, "Oh, by the way, did I mention I'm a Roman citizen?" They were like, "What?" Yeah, I'm a Roman citizen. And one guy said, "Well, I had to pay for mine." Now Paul said, "No, I was born a Roman."
Yeah, that one guy said, "Don't play with me, man.
Yeah,
I paid a whole lot for this Roman citizenship.
Yeah.
Don't go there."
and it's just important to be a citizen.
Yeah. And you know what? You know what was cool about that too? You know, the guy wanted to keep it under the cover and just say, y'all can just go away. Paul said, nah, you beat us in public. Now you need to come out and apologize in public. You know, so, you know, it's
They did. They want that. Hey, look, brother, look, let's clean this back up. Y'all go get him something to eat. And let's go on. Let's be neighborly now. Like, nah, it ain't going down like that, man.
Yeah, well, that was an example of God's divine providence. We've got a caller. Let's see if we can take this call.
Hello, caller. You're live and on the air.
Mr. Johnson. Go ahead. Talk. Good morning. Talk to us.
Okay. What? Now, did you mean until November the 8th? Or are you saying
from today through November the 8th?
Okay. 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 Absolutely.
Okay.
We appreciate you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your interest.
Y'all kind of let me know what he said because I couldn't hear.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. I know he would definitely love to enjoy you visiting.
Yeah. Oh
Wow.
my. Oh
My
my.
God. Absolutely. Oh wow. Okay. Okay. Yes, sir. All
Okay.
right.
Well, you're going to Arthur Chapel. That's a good church.
Yes, it
That's a
is.
good church with a good pastor. So
Praise God. Lord, let me have a good testimony like that. Praise God.
all right.
All right.
All right. Well, we appreciate your call in. We got to go to a break. We got to
God
go to a
bless you.
sponsorship break now. All right. Thank you.
Well, Elder, he was telling us different, he actually read off the different places that you can go and early vote in Pitt County. And then he told us, try to get it done by November 8th. so he gave us some good information on that. On that note, we're getting ready to go to sponsorship break. All I want, we're going to re-emphasize, vote, and vote some more. Get all, every chance you get, vote. And on that note, we're getting ready to go on a sponsorship break and listen to 106.9 FM on the radio dial. We'll see you in a moment. Hello, you're listening to 106.9 FM on your radio dial. And with me, I am Pastor Trey Forbes. And I have with me Pastor Dan Lawson of United Gospel Outreach and Elder Nat Farrow of Kingdom of Heaven Ministry. And so we are talking about the importance of voting. The importance of voting. I'm going to tell you one of the main reasons I vote, because number one, as a child, I look forward to it. I mean, I really did that. I couldn't wait to turn 18. I couldn't wait to exercise my citizenship. I couldn't wait to, man, I just was excited, and I was really conscientious even on my behavior to make sure nobody didn't take the voting away. I think I really did pay attention to the history class. And for anybody that did not know, at the founding of the country, the right to vote was restricted to gentlemen of property and standing. Most Black people did not own enough property to vote. Removal of the property requirements so as to enfranchise poor whites meant that Blacks would be able to vote too. So the search began for other means to disenfranchise them. Early legal acts like the Naturalization Act of 1790 granted naturalized citizenship to white persons of good character, thus excluding slaves, free Blacks Native Americans, indentured servants, and Asians. And I don't know why they don't have it up here, and women, white women. However, states were allowed to grant voting rights at the state level. Prior to the Civil War, free blacks had suffrage in New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. However, the right to vote was restricted in New Jersey in 1807 and Pennsylvania in 1838. New York State's Constitution of 1821 imposed a heavy property ownership requirement on black voters, only in effect disenfranchising almost all of them. During the time, abolitionists sought to end slavery, and the call for suffrage grew. And I'm going to stop there because I can just keep going on and on. But I'm going to tell you what it did do for me just reading this, Elmer. It just reminded me that we're going to have to make sure that there's an emphasis every Sunday. And all my young folk, I got a crop of young folk that came of age this year to be able to vote. And I just want to encourage them to vote as well. And if you got children, don't make sure you let them understand this is a family thing. And no matter what race you are, you need to have your values heard. Let your values be known. All right, now I'm ready to hand this ballot over to Pastor Lawson.
Yeah, it's such a privilege to live in a democracy where the people's opinion matter. Mm-hmm. That you have government of the people, for the people, by the people, and your vote is valuable. It's a valuable thing to have as long as you use it.
Right.
You know, if you use it, that makes it valuable, and it's yours. You can vote for the one that looks the best to you, that dressed the best. You can vote because one's taller than the others. You can vote. A few years back, somebody said to me, you all are just voting for Obama because he's black. And I said, yes.
But look how many people we did vote for. Wait. Look how many folks were black.
I had voted for a lot of white men.
But you know what? To that same thing, there was a lot of people that didn't vote for him because he was black.
Voted against him because he was black. That's exactly right. In the primary and in the
and some of y'all were black that didn't do it.
That's true.
And so it really, policy is it's important to be have reasons other than that, but I understood. You know what I'm saying? We got to make sure that we don't get caught up in that.
Yeah, be responsible.
Now that was okay in that, but he had policy ideas and there were things.
He was.
But now there are other races in other places where that's not necessarily the right person either. Right. Absolutely. Just because of the skin tone, because there's some folks with the I'm trying to think of that phrase that they use.
All skin folk are not kinfolk.
Yeah. So we got to understand that too. There's some folk that ain't for our interest, and it's sad that it's like that, but they exist too. So
I have to admit it.
Yeah,
there's some candidates I'd rather give them a coloring book, give them a baby room, and tell them to go sit somewhere. Than have them running for anything.
Yeah, I can fill in the blank on that one. Yeah, I can throw a name at you on that one, but
some of these folk, I wouldn't even want them to run for bus now. I really could get deeper on all this, but I'm just saying the comment.
But as I was saying, it is a privilege to live in a democracy. There were segments in this country that still felt like, that a black man should never be president of this country, and I know that there were some black people that felt that way. Yeah. And we're only probably between 13 and 17% of the population as African Americans.
And they tell us that we don't know country.
Yeah, we don't know for sure, but that's what they tell us.
Might be saying something different.
So we were not enough to vote a black man into the office of the presidency. There were not enough of us. But I think what really touched me when he became president is the fact that they were a lot of white people required to vote for him in order for him to win.
Yeah.
And they did.
Yes, they did.
They came out in spite of the powers that be that may have been against having, a first black president at this time. Democracy enabled a bunch of people to come out, exercise their vote, and put a black man in the presidency by a landslide.
Yes, they did.
And then came back 4 years later and elected him again. That's what democracy would do, and override a lot of racial hatred and feelings in this country, to accomplish something like that. And alongside that, and I'm gonna let you kick in, Elder, alongside of that, as a result of the performance of a president a few years ago, democracy enabled people to make a statement and say, we're tired of you. We're going to vote you out.
Mm-hmm.
That's what your vote can do.
Yeah.
Your vote can make a difference. It can make things like that happen. It can defy the odds and put a black man in the White House, and it can defy the odds and take a powerful man out of the White House.
Yes, Lord.
So that's what democracy, and that's what the power of your vote can make happen. Okay, Nat.
No. I mean, you're absolutely right, and what you're saying is, and see, this is how, if there's some younger folks listen, this is how you understand how important your vote is. If your vote wasn't important, they wouldn't be trying to take it away.
Yes, this is true.
They wouldn't be trying to put roadblocks in front of it. So the folks that oppose and that are doing that, they understand the power, and so they use all types of different things to keep you from voting. That's what they did historically to our folks after the first Reconstruction. By the time 1877 came around, and it's good to know history. It's good to kind of talk about that a little bit too. They started putting roadblocks in front of people so they wouldn't vote. They started creating laws. That's where we got this whole Jim Crow thing. That was basically a set of laws to keep you from the ballot box and to keep you out of power. and we did that for almost not quite 100 years, but almost. And finally it came back around where we had to put in a law, the Voting Rights Act, say, hey, you got to stop this.
So what are they doing? What are they? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish.
No, but that's basically, I just wanted to kind of throw that in there. The reason they do it because they understand the power involved.
What are the things that are being done today to disenfranchise minority groups from voting? I know that, let's start with what DeSantis is doing Governor DeSantis is doing down there in Florida. All of a sudden you see these people being arrested, people that had gone to prison and then had gotten out in time for the election, and they voted. And the people being rounded up and going to jail. What is that about?
The people in Florida voted. It was a referendum on the ballot. And the people in Florida voted that these people could have rights long as they did their time. And I think they had a couple of stipulations if they were murderers or if they were, sexual offenders or something. But if they did their time, that they could vote. And so they went and the state said they could vote. But in the meantime, after that happened, the legislature jumped in, and then the governor jumped in and put in some other things. But yet and still the state said they could vote. And so now he created and see, this is what I'm talking about, putting roadblocks. He created a law enforcement group just about
Yes, for that.
finding people, finding fraud. Now, they come in after these people and they made sure they put it on camera. I think it ended up being about 20 people. It didn't include the folks from the villages. I just want to say that it didn't include
people.
white
Yeah,
folks.
this was mostly people that would have voted Democratic.
Yeah, so
Potentially. And
see, this stuff is being done out in the open, man. It's not like they used to do it kind of in the back room, you know, where people would come and they would make them count the jelly beans and all that stuff. No, now it's right out in the open. So it needs to be challenged. That's what I think.
Exactly. It needs to be challenged. That's why it's so important.
But I'm glad that it's getting exposure, though.
Yeah. So important that we have representation so that these things can be challenged. Once you put people in office, a lot of times they're free to do things that you can't do anything about once you put them in office. So you have to take that in consideration and put the right people in office and vote to keep certain people out of office. That's what your vote does. It works both ways. Now, one of the big things that's going on now in many states, particularly in our own state here in North Carolina, is that redistricting thing. You want to talk about that a little bit? How they use redistricting to kind of guarantee their position, that their position will be sustained, you know, in office, and they can push their policies versus the other side.
What redistricting does?
Yeah, what it does. Yeah,
I was going to say what that does is that makes the politicians pick their voters instead of the voters picking the politician.
Exactly.
So they cut it up and chop it up. They know now with all the analytics and all that stuff, they can find out who votes where and what. So they chop it up and cut it up where they get their voters, and it's to their advantage. And that's another one of those roadblocks. That goes with your first question. That's one of the things that they put in place to keep power. And it's always been about that. It's about the power. That's why a lot of the issues we hear and we see that come in, it's not so much about the issues as it is about the power. They want to keep power. And they have found so many different ways to do it. And they do it through the vote. So we got to understand, we got to stay on top of it as far as, you know, when I say stay on top of it, be knowledgeable of what's going on. See, what you're talking to me, you're telling me that you're watching the news and you're seeing what's going on. And that's what we have to be. Because you can't fight it if you don't know.
That's right. We've been fighting gerrymandering ever since we've had the right to vote.
This is true.
And it's the power thing. They've always wanted to keep it. They understand, and then they keep, you know, we get into this black and white thing, and it does exist, but they wasn't white till they got here. That's another story. But
it's true.
They keep it's a wealth thing too. And they keep poor folk fighting each other.
Yes.
Poor black folk, poor white folk, they get you fighting each other. And like Dr. King said, like he told the jailer in Birmingham, you really should be on my side. You know, I mean, you know, because a lot of times they're voting against their interests because they don't want us to have it.
Isn't that sad? I don't want you to have so bad I'll do anything I can. If it even means that I don't have, as long as you don't have, that's important.
And the wealthy folk they want to keep that going.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna get into the names, but you know, there's a fella that, you know, the folk that support him, he don't care nothing about them folk.
No. I'll be wondering if they be listening. I honestly wonder. This dude talking about sinks and garbage disposals and how the toilet flush and you touch this and do. And I'm looking in their faces, are they mesmerized? And did they get a little cocktail for they got there? And especially when they had blacks or so all in the background. And he's sitting there talking about, I love the blacks and this and that. And they just sitting there like they numb.
Yeah, well, I wish we had time. We only have 3 minutes left in this broadcast. But I wish we had time right now to just go from where you're talking into why the so-called evangelicals backed, the previous administration. And I think a lot of them realized now that they were duped. They made a mistake. They did something they shouldn't have done. But what's done is done.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is that statistics show it was because they backed him that they could have made the difference in him never becoming president of the United States. But they chose to back him and support him.
You know what's bad? Whenever a person is getting prayer, he getting prayer, mic's still on. And they start praying and all the good stuff they were saying. And when they got finished, he walks over into the corner and asks one of his guys, hey, can you believe that? So believe this stuff and start laughing. And the mic is on. And they don't care.
Yeah, the January 6th, that whole process is bringing out the truth about so many people who supported him publicly, but behind the scenes, they were saying, this is one stupid guy.
This dude is one, it ain't just
a lot of it's coming out now,
So this flow from this. Cuckoo Mike didn't have a this. I don't know what happened.
So you got a minute to close us out.
Oh wow. Well, give us 20 seconds, so.
No, well, we would, like I said, just be knowledgeable and do what you have to do and make sure you get out there and let your voice be heard through your vote.
I totally agree. Give me 20 seconds, Pastor.
Yeah, well, we see that. I'm hoping that we all see what a difference our vote can make, how it can impact what goes on in this country, and that we will exercise that right and power.
Well, I totally agree. Let's do this one thing. Let's go vote. And let's go vote early. I remember times maybe 15, 20 years ago, standing, and probably more than that, standing in line for hours. I mean, especially where I live, we literally was standing. I remember one time just standing in the cold for hours. I don't even remember, it's been so long, I don't even remember who I was voting for at that time. Just standing in line, cold, shivering, and just waiting to do that which was right to do. On that note, we're on Awesome Radio 106.9 FM. Real Talk for Real Men. See you next week.
All right.